Cold calling is tough. You get a lot of negative feedback. Few people actually enjoy rejection, but it's part of life for a cold caller. It's likely that the overwhelming majority of calls will end in a no, as opposed to a yes. And the law of numbers will, to some extent, dictate the success of your telemarketing activity. Of course, it's not quite as simple as that, but there are certain factors that are guaranteed to make sure that the cold caller has a bad day on the phone. Let's take a look at some of them. Failure to do the legwork. One thing's for sure, if you don't make the calls, you won't get the results. You need to set yourself some goals. That's likely to be a given number of calls in the time available. And if you combine that with the callbacks, you're more likely to achieve some success. But you won't achieve any viable results unless you get on the phone and stop procrastinating. Failure to maximize callbacks. The best opportunities for lead generation are likely to come from scheduled callbacks. That's where the prospect has previously asked for a call, when the timing may be more appropriate to discuss what you offer. If the callback dates aren't in your system, how will you make sure that you capitalize on the timing when the buyer is in buying mode? Failure to capture good notes. It might be boring, but you may have spoken to the prospect 6 months before, but unless you've got an amazing memory, it's unlikely you'll remember the finer details of that particular conversation. What was the prospect like? What were their buying triggers? When's the contract renewal date? Without good notes, you will seriously damage your ability to take advantage of those past conversations. Failure to get past the gatekeeper. This is more about techniques. Have you ever been blocked by a tough PA or held up by no-name policies at reception in a big company? We all have, so it pays to plan for this and ensure you have the right names before you blunder in. And gatekeeper techniques are crucial, since the overwhelming majority of calls will effectively start with this blocker. So if you aren't sure of your ground, you're doomed to failure. Now to say, I'm often asked how to gain buyer interest. My reply is really simple. Say something interesting. Think buyer, not seller or product. Think about what's interesting to them, not what you want to sell. The more engaging you can be, the more you'll build rapport and the more likely you are to cultivate an opportunity. Dull, dull, dull. Bored? Well, if you aren't motivated, why would anyone want to listen? If you go through your day just waiting for 5 p.m, all the energy will drain out of your voice and a bad day will become a lot worse. People like people that are engaging and motivated. You can guarantee a poor day of cold calling results if you don't inject some enthusiasm into your activity. Behavior breeds behavior. And if you're uninspiring, you can guarantee the outcome on the call. Do you stack the odds in your favor? As we said, cold calling is in part a numbers game, but it isn't just numbers. Knowing your ratios will help you achieve your goals. For example, what percentage of decision-maker conversations are needed to convert a sale or an appointment? How many calls are needed to reach a decision maker? If you know the objectives and you know your ratios, it becomes a lot easier to work out a recipe for success. Are you consistently inconsistent? Successful telemarketing is as much about the process and endeavor as it is about the skills on the phone. Callers that are hit and miss tend to have no process and make no progress. They're sporadic with their calls and they have long gaps in terms of hours and even days without calling. Effective B2B telemarketing is definitely based on momentum. The more you get into the groove, the better. You become used to blocks and put-offs, you learn how to deal with them, but it's hard to do. And if you never build up a head of steam, you won't be successful. Oh, I give up. Have you ever heard yourself saying that? Giving up too soon is a symptom of a failed cold caller. Successful salespeople are goal and outcome oriented. They know their numbers and they work them to their benefit. They don't let the blocks stop them. They don't become discouraged by rejection that is inherent in the role. The winner is the tortoise, not the hare in this game too. So remember that it's about belief. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you almost certainly won't. Failure to self-develop. Ultimately, no one knows it all. They say knowledge is power, so how much do you know about the market you operate within? Nothing stands still, and nor should you. Einstein was often quoted, as saying the definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. If you're having a bad time cold calling, what have you changed to make it better?